So I'm here in the hospital, had a 5-inch tumor removed from my colon and some lymph nodes. Yeah, not fun. I'm in pain, but I'm also really happy that it's done, that it's over. They're testing it. Well, they're testing the lymph nodes just to make sure that there's nothing in them. They don't think there is. So, yeah, I'm really happy to have it over with. I should be dead. And I was hospitalized and close to the end of my life. And the one thing going through my mind was, what is going to happen to my foster kids? Knowing that I would lose complete control over what would happen to them if something happened to me, and then wondering if I'm in the hospital for a long time, am I going to lose them? So I had this issue. It was this pain down in my gut, down around my waist, and it was all across my stomach. The first thing I did is I tried some Dulcolax or some like laxatives to kind of get things moving, flowing through my system, thinking that that would make it better. And it did for a bit. It made it better. But there was still this one sharp pain in my gut that kept piercing at me. And that sharp pain was just enough for me to go, maybe something is more seriously wrong. And so I did. I went to urgent care to have it checked out. They thought it was my appendix. They sent me to the emergency room. Emergency room did a CT scan on me. The CT scan seemed weird to them. They weren't quite sure what was wrong, but there was something. And so they did another CT scan, and they ran it by one doctor, then they ran it by another doctor, and it was the second doctor on the second CT scan that saved my life. I had this issue. And the issue, I mean, there's a big old tumor down there, but worse than that or scarier than that was there's this rare disorder that was happening that was really life-threatening, and they weren't sure if I'd make it, but I needed emergency surgery, and it ended up with me being in the hospital for a couple weeks while I was waiting for this one special robot surgery room where they could work on me. And that whole time I was thinking, what about my kids? What about my kids? See, I've lived a life where I've given a lot. I've served a lot. I've done a lot of things. I've traveled. I've really had an adventurous life and a great life, and I was ready to go, except my kids. I wasn't ready to leave them. And that's adoptive kid, foster kids, and finally they found a safe place in my home. Were they going to get taken away from me if I stayed in the hospital for an extended period of time, or if I wasn't able to live in my home? What was going to happen? What was going to happen to these kids? I didn't know, and it freaked me out. I knew for sure for Robert, who's been adopted, that he'd be with family. Might have to move eventually, I don't know, but he'd be with family, and that he would be taken care of. But I worried about the foster kids. So you see, in foster care, kids get moved around a lot. And if you're a foster parent, like I am, and you're no longer able to care for kids for a certain period of time, typically it's a move. Now, maybe it can be a respite, and that's fine. But if, depending on caseworkers and supervisors and how all that works, sometimes it means they look to move the kids, especially if you're in the hospital for a long period of time. But for me, odds were, when you look at what this was, there was a good chance that I was going to die from it. Now, I didn't know that, fortunately, at the time. The doctors kind of kept that from me. The surgeon didn't dwell on that fact, you might want to say. So I didn't know that it was very likely, very, very likely, that I would die from this. Either way, even not knowing, was worried about what would happen to these kids. Where would they go? Would they be thrown around from home to home, never finding a home? I didn't know. So I prayed and prayed for life, obviously, in that moment. I prayed that I wouldn't die, that I would still be able to be there for my kids. And even though I was ready to go in every other way, this was the one thing that I cared about. This was the one thing in that moment. And so I did, I prayed. So fortunately, I had this caseworker, or the supervisor, I think it was, who said, wait, his parents live with him, and they're very involved in the kids' lives. They help a lot. They're active. Let's find out if we can get them on the license. And so what happened is we actually went through the process of getting them fingerprinted and all these things. I mean, it was a little more than that because you get fingerprinted for any adult in the home, but but they went through the process of getting some other forms and things filled out so they could be what was called alternative caregivers. Now, I think if I passed away, that wouldn't count, or they would have to get licensed separately. But an alternative caregiver, apparently, if I understand this correctly, is someone who's able to be there for the kids, take care of the kids for an extended period of time, longer than what our state's, maximum amount is for childcare for someone who's without the foster parent for a certain amount of time, longer than a respite. There's a limit on how frequently a respite can last. And I know if you don't know what respite is, if you're having a struggle with kids and you need a break, really deeply need a break from behaviors or whatever, you can reach out to your agency. They'll find another family for you, and that family will do a short-term care kind of thing. It could be as long as like a weekend or a week, maybe even in some situations, but there's a limit to how long they can do that. So my folks actually became alternative caregivers on my license for foster care. So they were able to step in. I didn't risk losing my kids. I'm here. I'm alive. I shouldn't be. I should not be alive. The odds of me being here to talk to you today, really slim, but I am. I'm here. I'm alive. And I'm here for my kiddos, hopefully all the way up until we adopt them. I'm here. Well, and hopefully I'm here for much more than that. Like, hopefully I'm here for much more than that, for their lives and for all these things. But it mattered to me that I was there to adopt them so that they could be with family members if something did happen to me, or I would have control, I guess I could say, in who they went to, and could make sure they were really with a safe home going forward from me. And that was really important. So I survived until surgery, and I'm here and I'm kicking. I'm doing well. Scars are healing. I'm feeling so much better. And so as part of that, a lot of you have been commenting, asking for us to keep doing videos. We probably get at least a couple emails a week from someone saying, please come back. We need you. Some of them have specific questions. Some just want to touch base. Whatever it is, I think that's awesome. We love to support you. I think as I've come this close to death, I've seen how this channel is really valuable and important, and want to keep pouring into you, want to keep encouraging people who go into this very tough space of being a foster parent or an adoptive parent to kids from hard places. I want to be there for you. I'm also thinking about having a Zoom for folks. If you want to provide a little support for this channel, if you want to be there to encourage this along the way so that we can keep making videos, if you want to do that, I'm thinking maybe once a month or so, I'll have a Zoom where you can talk to me and ask me some questions. Foster care is hard and a lot of weird things pop up. And I've got 2 years of experience now as a caseworker. I've got many years of experience as a foster parent, plus I grew up around the system, and then I've got a family member who worked in the system for 22 years. We know a lot. We don't know everything. I don't know that there is an expert on the system. If someone says they are, I would question them, because how many times in my role as a foster parent, how many times in my role as a caseworker has everyone around me gone, oh, we've never seen anything like this before? It's almost constant. So we're just kind of rolling with the punches in this field. We're just kind of figuring things out as they come, because new things happen all the time. And so I want to be there to help you figure that out. But whatever way we can support you, I feel strongly that I'm still alive for a reason. Part of that reason is my kids, and then part of that reason is to support foster and adoptive parents. So if you're with me, let's go, Dad.